I was surprised that a pimento cheese sandwich created over a century ago is a favorite food served at the Augusta Masters tournament each year. Locals speak very passionately about pimento cheese. It's been part of their food culture for decades. So I decided to dig a little deeper and find the story of how the simple cheese spread became so widely popular and why there's so many variations on it. Stick around for the story behind what you see. When one thinks of the agriculture from Georgia, the thoughts of cotton and peanuts and pecans and certainly peaches come to mind. But did you know that Georgia nearly became known as the Pimento State? It's true. Georgia did not become known as the Peach State until 1995, when pimento crops in Georgia since the 1960s produced nearly 90% of the nation's pimentos. America has been importing pimentos into the U.S. since early 1820s, from Spain mostly. Imported Spanish peppers were being canned and sold by large food manufacturers, which not only boosted their popularity, but also introduced the Spanish name pimento. By the turn of the century, 1900, most print sources in America had dropped the I and were just calling them pimentos. Well, these peppers have been available fresh for a long time. The peppers gained popularity once they were canned and discovered by food editors and society pages around the country that one could add these canned peppers to salads and sandwiches and just add a little color and flavor. By 1910, the pimento had made its way to popular food culture. Around 1911, when imported Spanish pimentos were an expensive but in-demand delicacy, farmers affiliated with a Georgia experiment station outside of Griffin, Georgia, began cultivating domestic pimentos. They developed the Chewhart Perfection pimento and inventing a roasting machine that made peeling and peppers easier. By the 1920s, a flourishing pimento industry had developed in and around Griffin. 1938 was their peak year with 25,000 acres under cultivation. That's a lot. The country's largest packer, Pomona Products Company of Griffin, was producing 10 million cans of pimentos a year. In the 1940s, a cannery that the Regal family founded was bringing in $3 million annually, employing 1,100 workers and contracting with 1,000 farmers. This was just one of 21 pimento canneries in the state of Georgia. Now you can begin to understand why it's almost became the Pimento State. The South may have not invented pimento cheese, but it did become the center of the nation's pimento growing and canning industries. In the 1870s, in New York State, farmers started making a soft, unripened cheese modeled after a popular French cheese, and they soon introduced cream cheese. Though produced primarily in New York, cream cheese somehow became linked with the city of Philadelphia, and the New York-based Phoenix cheese became the market leader with its Philadelphia brand cream cheese, which was later acquired by the Kraft Cheese Company. Pimento cheese got its start up north in New York, in fact, as a product of an industrial food manufacturing and mass marketing. Don't shoot the messenger. The story gets better real soon. It was only a matter of time before the two ingredients were brought together. In 1908, an article in Good Housekeeping recommended sandwiches filled with a soft blend of cream cheese, mustard, chives, and minced pimentos. Commercially made pimento cheese burst onto the market around 1910 and quickly spread across the country. The Good Housekeeping article that caught people's attention, as well as their imagination on how versatile this small little pepper could be, included recipes for pimento omelets, pimento patties, but it is the pimento sandwiches recipes that became the most repeated. Quote, to 1/4 pound of soft cream cheese, add 1 tablespoon of chopped chives, 1 spoon of mixed mustard, and 2 tablespoons of minced pimento. Add cream and beat until soft and creamy. Spread between thin slices of buttered bread. Just 1 year later, in 1909, Eve Green Fuller wrote a book entitled The Up-to-Date Sandwich Book, 400 Ways to Make a Sandwich. I have a copy on my shelf. Which featured the pimento sandwich. Grind 2 small cans of pimentos with 2 cakes of Newfoundland French cheese and season with a little salt. If the mixture is too dry, add a little oil of the pimentos. Spread on thin slices of lightly buttered white bread. Place the two together and cut into fancy shapes. That was back in 1909. One must remember that in 1909 the home refrigerator consisted of a simple ice box, so refrigeration temperatures were inconsistent. Food varieties were more regional and local due to transportation, and food costs were high. So having meat may have been a luxury. It's due to all these reasons families were eager to try something new. The canned pimento cheese spread sold at about 15 cents a can, and even this was still out of the budget of some people. So it was just a matter of time before a recipe on how to create your own pimento cheese at home. Here is one from Shreveport, Louisiana, dated in May of 1909. A cheese sandwich. Take 1/2 pound of American cheese and a dozen pimentos. Put the cheese and pimentos through a meat grinder. Mix with enough mayonnaise to be thin enough to spread on thin slices of bread and butter. Okay. In 1917, Eugenia Duke began selling pimento cheese sandwiches with her homemade mayonnaise to soldiers at a local fort. Sandwiches cost a dime each, and Duke made a profit of 2 cents per sandwich. By 1918, she had sold her 11,000th pimento cheese sandwich and earned enough to produce her first delivery truck. In 1923, she stopped selling her sandwiches and focused on selling her Duke's mayonnaise. You may have heard of that one before. As America entered World War II, it was another opportunity for families to watch their dollars. So inexpensive pimento cheese sandwiches once again became popular. After World War II, the popularity of pimento cheese began to wane. But somewhere along the line, Southern cooks took what originated as an industrial food product and started creating their own recipes and making it from scratch. In the process, turning it into something truly delicious that is associated very closely with the South. Stories from the Great Depression book by Robert Wilbanks recalls that in that era, very few ingredients were prepackaged, and that, for their sandwiches, the pimento cheese did not come from a store but was made at home by cutting and mixing hoop cheese and pimentos from a jar. Hoop cheese was a white cheese made from draining the whey from cottage cheese and pressing the curds in a round mold, creating a mild-flavored, semi-firm hoop cheese. It was sold in the country stores all across the South. In any event, replacing the cream cheese with the inexpensive and local hoop cheese and later store-bought firm cheese like cheddar seemed to have been an essential step in creating today's Southern icon. Grated cheese needs something to bind it together, and mayonnaise fits that bill just perfectly. From there, any number of other enhancements from onions and mustard and lemon juice and jalapenos could add new flavors and make a more interesting spread. A recipe for basic Southern pimento cheese from that time. 16 ounces of coarsely grated sharp cheddar cheese. 1 4-ounce jar of diced pimentos. Add the juice if you like. 1 to 1.5 cups of Duke's mayonnaise, depending on your desired thickness. Mix all those ingredients together in a bowl. Fold in whatever seasonings or additions you like. Chill for an hour or more and let the flavors blend. Dig in. Georgia was once the pimento pepper capital of the world. By 1929, 7,000 acres of pimentos were cultivated in the counties around Griffin. At one time, there were over 20 pepper processing plants. Why does no one grow them anymore? By 1950, production peaked, but farmers turned away from the pimento peppers because they were so labor intensive to grow and hard to sell with much of a profit. He thought I'd never get around to talking about the pimento cheese in the Masters tournament. Well, I did. Nick Rangos may not be a household name, but he is best known for creating the pimento cheese recipe for the sandwich that was sold for over 40 years at the Masters Golf Tournament held in Augusta each year. His secret recipe? I can't give it to you. No one will ever know. He took the recipe to his grave in 2015. Several others have tried to duplicate his recipe, but the fans can still taste the difference. Pimento cheese sandwiches hold the distinction of being the official sandwich of the Master Tournament, as well as a concession favorite during our neighbor's Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway. From these humble beginnings, pimento cheese continues as a comfort food for some, and an upscale cheese spread for others. Food has a way of uniting friends and family and connecting with great memories. Let me know if you enjoy my stories behind what you see by hitting that like button and sharing this with a friend. If you want to make sure to catch every episode, so please subscribe button and ring that notification bell. There should be a suggested video featured on your left and a playlist on the right. Thanks, and see you next time on Georgia History Today.